showers and thunderstorms, 87 tonight. Tomorrow, mostly sunny, hot, 113. Sunday, sunny, hot, high, 113. Staff meteorologist John Weatherby, Money Radio 1510 and 99.3 FM.
Right now, we got sunshine. It's already 108 degrees in the valley. It's only noon. Dow's up 52 at 17,459. S&P 500 up 7 at 2091. NASDAQ up 13 points. Reporting from Money Radio, I'm Dawn Nietzsche.
The views expressed on the following program do not necessarily reflect the views of Money Radio staff, management, or advertisers, and do not represent an offer to buy or sell any securities. Some interviews heard on this program may be sponsored by the participants. It's time for Health Futures with Cypress Home Care Solutions, Bob Roth. This is Arizona's only show dedicated to providing you with expert advice on how to live a longer, healthier, and happier life. To learn more, call 602-264-8009. That's 602-264-8009. Now, here's your host, Bob Roth.
Good afternoon. My name is Bob Roth, and you are listening to Health Futures, taking stock in you. And we're coming at you live from the Scottsdale Air Park. It is Friday, August 14th, and it is the dog days of summer, nice and soupy out there. And what a week as it relates to monsoons. We had a double header there in the middle of the week that I think I'll always remember. And, if you're just listening to us right now, we're a show that you heard the name Health Futures, taking stock in you. We're a show about how our aging adult population, our older adult population, can live a happier, healthier life. And we've been on the air now for about 21 months. We've broadcasted over 80 shows right here from the studios here in Scottsdale. And today is no different. I've got a great guest here on the show today, Genny Rose from Leading Age Arizona. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
It's a pleasure to have you here. You're a healthcare professional, and we won't say how many years you've been in the business, although in the next segment I want to talk, or want our listening audience to learn a little bit more about your background. But you are the executive director and leader, if you would, for the Leading Age Arizona. And I would love for you to just share, just briefly, with our listening audience, who is Leading Age and what are they doing here in Arizona?
Well, Leading Age Arizona is an affiliate of National Leading Age, which is out of Washington, D.C. The national organization has over 6,000 members throughout the country, and we represent exclusively nonprofit providers of health care and housing for seniors. In Arizona, we are one of 38 state affiliates of Leading Age. We are much smaller than the national, obviously, and even smaller by state standards. We have just over 52 provider members, and those provider members are organizations that provide health care and housing and support services to seniors throughout the state of Arizona.
And interesting you say that. First of all, not-for-profit.
Correct.
52. And we're talking about housing. Mostly skilled, or both skilled, assisted, independent? Does it run the spectrum?
The majority of our members are campuses of care, and what is called in the industry a CCRC, or a continuing care retirement community.
Got it.
So it's anything from independent apartments to skilled nursing, assisted living, home health services, hospice services, that full continuum. So residents in those communities can reside there for 10, 15, 20 years, depending on when they enter and their health conditions.
Oh, fantastic. And they, each one of them, and I've been affiliated with Leading Age Arizona, and I forget the name it was called previous, but we won't mention it. But whatever the name was before that, for at least a better part of 10 years plus. And you guys have a great cohesive group, and it really starts with the leadership, and kudos to you, Genny. Mm-hmm. How long have you been over there now?
Thanks. I've been with Leading Age as the executive director for 8 years.
Wow.
But part of the attraction to me for the position was there is a lot of longevity in the nonprofit world and a lot of stability. So a lot of the leaders were my colleagues for years, so it was very easy for me to step in as an executive director and be able to reach out whenever I needed help, knowing I would get the support that the association needed.
And what's interesting is that, we talk about it here on the show because Cypress Home Care Solutions is an entity that provides care in the home. And typically we think of people living in the residence that they grew up in or raised their family in or spent many, many, many years in. And that home can really virtually be anywhere. And that home could be, a single-family dwelling. It could be an apartment, could be a condo, or it could be in one of these CCRCs, these continuing care retirement communities.
That is correct. And now there's actually a movement towards moving outside the CCRC to what is affectionately being called the CCRC without walls, to allow those seniors who are in their homes who want to remain in the home, but also want to access some of the support services that are available in those communities. And so there's now an effort to make them a little more prevalent throughout the state.
Well, you know what? And I think that with our aging population, Genny, and I think you'll agree, 10,000 baby boomers turning 65 a day, there aren't enough CCRCs and there aren't enough rooms in those communities to be able to handle this aging population. So the CCRC without walls makes so much sense.
Well, and in addition to that, there was a national study that was done of cohorts of individuals in there, the baby boomers who had parents who lived in these CCRCs. And when they polled them, 75% of those boomers said they would move into a CCRC based on the experience of their parents.
That's interesting. It really is.
I was quite surprised. I thought it would be much less.
And I thought it would be much less, too. And I do want to share with our listening audience, I've been given the honor of writing a column. And I write a column presently for the Jewish News of Greater Phoenix, but I also was given the honor of writing a column for Love and Life After 50. So I wrote my first column that came out last week. And you know what the nice thing about being a columnist is when you get a phone call. That means people are actually reading.
Yeah.
So I wrote in the column the following. I said, forget nursing homes in 55-plus communities. Older adults really don't want them. Older adults want to age in place. Don't we owe it to the greatest generation who built the communities that we live in and gave us more than what we have to give them this opportunity to age successfully in place? And I got a phone call from this gentleman, and I'll mention his name because he said I could, and I'm going to write not a retraction, but a follow-up column. His name's Lake Westfall. He's 92 years old, and he lives in Sun City West, and he plays racquetball twice a week. He plays for an hour and a half each time, and he's playing in a tournament in Albuquerque next month for the 90-plus age group.
Good for him.
And he says to me, I took great offense to your article. And I said, well, tell me why you did. And he says, I've been living in a 55-plus community now for over 25 years, and I really like it. And I said, you know what? You're absolutely right. And, I live in this world of Cypress Home Care, and I think of people living in their home, but a 55-plus community definitely works, and you're happy there. And he told me all the reasons why he loved it, because of the socialization and the activities and all the things that you and I both know.
Oh, exactly. Socialization, security, safety, all of those things that adult children worry about for their parents are built into that environment. Makes them very, very popular.
It does. It really, really does. And, the group that you have assembled, and like you said, you've known many of these people for years, and many of them are still in those positions even here 8 years later, because I serve on one of your committees. The one thing that we talk about a lot is the environmental forces that we're up against. And what am I talking about, environmental forces that we're up against? We're talking about people that want to put regulations into their communities that affect the way they day-to-day operation. So a lot of what is spent on your time and a lot of members' time is advocacy.
Oh, absolutely, because regulations are paramount to the success of an organization, and we have them now at the state level that have recently been reviewed and revised and add additional burden. And if that wasn't enough, now it's also happening at the national level. So our federal guidelines are going to be changing substantially in the not-too-distant future. So we're constantly fighting the battles of not only the regulations that are changing, but the interpretation of those, and then a successful survey as a result. So members are constantly trying to be a step ahead and trying to interpret and get the information and the technical guidance that they need to be successful. And some of them are. We're very pleased. Some have had deficiency-free surveys, which is always the goal, and others have had minor infractions that are relatively easy to repair, but still they'd like to not see those deficiencies if they could.
Well, we'll talk a little bit more about regulations. We're listening to a little bit of Eric Clapton right now, so we're getting ready to come up on a break. But if you're just tuning in, we're talking to Genny Rose from Leading Age Arizona, and I'm Bob Roth. I'm your host of Health Futures, Taking Stock in You. We're up against a break. We're going to take a break. We'll be right back.
Stock market corrections may seem like random occurrences, but the fact is, market corrections are bound to happen. But what if you could see the correction coming in advance? What if you could be prepared to short the market before it's too late? Don't get caught off guard. Become a philsgang.com member and get all the daily market information, investment strategies, and be prepared to make profits when the market is up or the market is down. You can do this for only $49.95 a month. Learn how to invest in the market, get daily coaching guidance on your investments, and take the first step of putting profits in your pocket. With philsgang.com, you just log on and get daily instructions on how to invest in the market. You don't have to worry about long-term contracts or hidden fees. Plus, all philsgang.com material is archived. So just log on and enjoy the ride to profits. philsgang.com. Go to philsgang.com or give them a call today at 877-600-4264. That's 877-600-4264.
Hi, I'm Johnny Dean.
And I'm Rick the Professor Plum.
Every day on Bucket Strategy Investing, we're talking about financial planning, investment decisions, and retirement strategies.
We focus on wealth education and the strategy designed for the needs you have today
and the goals you have for the future. Tune in to Bucket Strategy Investing.
And call in with questions.
Retirement strategies, taxes, Social Security, and more. That's what we're talking about on Bucket Strategy Investing.
Laura Bramnick is a real estate agent and a real estate attorney. She can help you buy or sell real estate, and she can provide legal counsel, usually at no additional cost. You could just work with a realtor, or you could work with a realtor and real estate attorney. So why wouldn't you call Laura Bramnick at 480-624-2705? For more info, visit talkrealestateaz.com or call 480-624-2705.
Kubota, driven by perfectionists. Get some perfection in your world with compact tractors, zero-turn motors, and diesel utility vehicles from Kubota. Find your local Kubota dealer at Kubota.com.
Now back to Health Futures, taking stock in you. If you have questions about your own or your loved one's future health care, call 602-264-8009. Now, here's your host, Cypress Home Care Solutions, Bob Roth.
Welcome back. My name is Bob Roth, and you're listening to Health Futures, taking stock in you. And if you're just tuning in, I got Genny Rose in the studio, and Genny is from Leading Age Arizona, and she's the executive director. She leads that organization, and they have 52 provider members right here in our community. As we learned on the first segment, these are not-for-profit CCRCs or residential communities where our aging adult population is aging successfully in place. Mm-hmm. And if you missed the first segment, I encourage you to go out to Cypress Home Care Solutions. CypressHomeCare.com, and go up to the top right or the middle of the page, and you'll see a radio button, and you can catch this segment, and you can catch about 84 or 85 others that we have done since we've begun the show. So when we left off on the first segment, Genny, we were talking about regulations, and I want our listening audience to understand that we, and I'm talking about Genny and I, are not opposed to protecting our aging adult population. There are some great measures that are currently in place in both your arena as well as in the home care arena to protect our aging adult population. We can talk a little bit later about the legislation that we recently passed in home care, but for the most part, we're out protecting, or we're all for protecting our aging adult population. The challenge we have is when some of these bills come down that are incredibly onerous on our operators that are already going the extra mile. And, we need to be able to run these communities as efficiently as possible, but we also need to be mindful of the burden, because some of those communities that you have that are members rely a lot on state money through the Medicaid population, so the margins are very, very thin.
That's absolutely true. And years ago, when I first entered this long-term care field, someone said to me that long-term care, specifically skilled nursing, is the second highest regulated industry behind nuclear power. And if you pull down the federal regs, you'll see what I mean. There are over hundreds of FTAGs that regulate how we manage our facilities. And we've even had surveyors from time to time tell us that there were several they thought we could do without. But until those are changed, we're still required to be compliant with all of them. And that in and of itself is a heavy burden. But we need regulation. We want some oversight and regulation. That's important to our efficient operations. But it is a challenge to successfully maneuver through all of those regulations on a regular basis.
So you prefaced that last statement. So when you entered into the long-term care industry, I would love for you to take this opportunity to share with our listening audience and me, because I just recently reviewed your background, about your background and how you got into this space, and where are you from, and you're a fixture in our community and one that is highly respected and highly regarded. So I would love for you to share with our listening audience your background.
Well, thank you. That's very kind of you. I came to Arizona in the early 70s. I had a bachelor's degree in physical therapy. I was trained at the prestigious Rusk Institute in New York and thought that I would come to Phoenix and easily get a job as a staff PT. Well, such was not the case. And there were no openings anywhere in the valley. And this little hospital in this tiny little remote community called Sun City had an opening for a therapist. I had a license, and I got hired on the spot. And so I thought, well, okay, this is really not where I saw my career going, but I'll do this for 2 years, and then I'll go back into the valley because they'll have openings. Well, that didn't work out either. I ended up staying in the rehab area for 14 years at Boswell Hospital in Sun City. And when I really thought my career was going to move up, my manager at the time said, "We'd like you to go across the street. We have this relatively new nursing home on our campus. We'd like you to run that for us." I thought, well, this is a career opportunity. Again, it's not where I saw myself in my career, but okay, I'll take it on. And I went across the street to the nursing home as the administrator and sat in that chair for 15 years. I quickly learned to love the environment, to love the residents and the families, and it was just a very, very rewarding experience. And that was really the second half of my career at what was then Sun Health Corporation. And that's where I developed the relationship with all of my colleagues that I continue to have today as well. So after the 15 years as an administrator, I went back into the hospital and saw a broader responsibility for the whole post-acute continuum and remained there for another 4 years. So if anyone's doing the math out there, we're getting close to 33 years.
Wow.
And they began to sell off the post-acute continuum and really focus back on the acute care, which was their primary business. And that's when I left and became the executive director at Leading Age. So I really never left long-term care.
Well, it's interesting just to see not only your career evolution, but really the evolution of healthcare. Because, the just the word post-acute, I mean, I think most people, used to refer to it as institutionalization, skilled nursing, and now, post-acute is a word that is regularly used in our language and in our DNA in the healthcare world.
I think if you went to a cocktail party 5-10 years ago, people never said they worked in a nursing home. They worked in a care center. They worked in an alternative setting. They worked in a post-acute environment. But nursing homes had such a bad reputation that people didn't really want to readily identify themselves with them. So we looked for new and different language.
And, the interesting thing, too, Genny, and I've seen this across the country, and you probably have seen this as well. When you look at the traditional nursing homes, if they haven't changed with the times, they're either out of business or they are dying, because really the times have changed. And I think what we're finding is a lot of the traditional nursing homes have become the phrase you use, post-acute centers, because they're kind of like a staging center for many people that are suffering from illnesses or injuries, and they get hospitalized, they go into a post-acute, and typically they want them there, 20, maybe 30 days, and they want to discharge them back to their home. Mm-hmm. And that home, as we said on the last segment, could be anywhere from the residence that they lived in for 30 or 40 years, or the CCRC community or independent living community that they moved into.
Even the 15 years that I was at Sun Health, I saw a lot of change in the nursing home world, because when I started, the whole focus of the nursing home was on what we called the custodial population, or the private pay residents that were there for essentially the rest of their lives.
Right.
With a very small number of Medicare beds for those covered stays. And then that's completely switched today. Now there are facilities that don't have any custodial beds anymore. They focus on not only the Medicare, but the high-level Medicare, so they're now what we call subacute. And then in addition to that, there are facilities that are just niche organizations that just do subacute rehab, short stay.
Right.
Or they do bariatric post-ops, or they do the ventilator patients. So they're trying to really carve out a niche in the market that allows them to be successful and really focus on one level of care and one diagnosis, so to speak. So and they're also reducing the number of beds.
And just talking about beds, I think about the beds that were in the nursing homes back in the 60s and 70s. They were, single beds, double beds, mattresses. And now in this post-acute environment, whether it be subacute, whatever the acute setting is, they typically have a striker bed.
Oh, yes.
The same bed that's in the hospital that can be maneuvered back and forth and up and down, and that's what you're finding, a lot more sophistication in those environments.
Well, in the old days, you'd also see 4 beds in a room.
Right.
And today we've really evolved to private rooms almost exclusively. And you're right. I mean, if you didn't know the difference, you would think that you were in an acute hospital unit as opposed to a skilled nursing facility.
And I got to tell you, my father told me a long time ago, because of the stigma that he recalled with his grandparents and parents being in those settings, do not put me in a nursing home. I do not want to be there. Not so bad today.
Much better today.
Not so bad today.
Much more patient-centered. It's been real challenging, but I think facilities have really made the commitment to make it a much more home-like environment and really patient-centered. So we provide your breakfast on your schedule, not our schedule.
And that's as it should be. And most of those settings have the therapy rooms, and they have therapists that are coming by, and as I indicated earlier, they're looking to get them back to where they came from, wherever that was.
That's true.
Well, fantastic. I know we're coming up on another break here, but 33 years, Sun Health, and it's interesting to see. And for those that are listening here, I mean, Del Webb had a vision, and it all started here in Arizona. I mean, there are other Sun cities,
yes,
but it began here, and to see what has been created is nothing short of phenomenal.
Yeah, very successful community.
I had Dr. Sabah on here probably a little more than a year ago, and we were talking about the body donation program that they have. That body donation program now is over 30 years old. And what a phenomenal program. And for those that are listening in for the first time and not heard that segment, you can catch it up on our website and look for Dr. Sabah. But what a great service. And, they're getting tissue that's less than 2 hours post someone being deceased. Well, we're coming up on a break. You're listening to Health Futures, Taking Stock in You. I've got Genny Rose in the studio. We'll be right back.
As we reach the bottom of the hour, we pause for a look at the world's news. Then we're back with Money Talk. We're Money Radio 1510 and 99.3 FM.
The top diplomats of Cuba and the United States are describing hard issues ahead following the raising of the U.S. flag over the American embassy in Havana today. Secretary of State John Kerry says one issue not on the table is removing the U.S. naval base at Guantanamo, which Cuba wants. Republican presidential candidate Senator Marco Rubio, speaking at the Foreign Policy Institute in Washington, has a message for Cuba.
I will give the Castros a choice. Either continue repressing your people and lose the diplomatic relations and benefits provided by President Obama. Or begin to carry out meaningful political and human rights reforms and receive increased U.S. trade, investment, and support.
Aides to former Vice President Al Gore are stomping on rampant social media speculation that Gore is looking into running for president. Correspondent Chris Moody is at the Iowa State Fair, and he explains what may be driving the rumors.
Well, as the headlines turn sour for Hillary Clinton, you're seeing a lot of activists, especially people we've talked to here at the Iowa State Fair, who said, hey, I'm open to hearing somebody else.
Stocks rising on Wall Street. I'm Michael Toscano.
Okay, so let me see if I get this straight. You want the truck with the most towing power, the most payload, that accelerates faster, stops quicker, handles better than ever, that works smarter, is loaded with a ton of new technology and tools, has best-in-class gas mileage, that doesn't rust, and has the government's highest overall safety rating, 5 stars. Have I got that right? That's all you want, right? Everything? Okay. What color? This is the high-strength military-grade aluminum alloy body Ford F-150, and this changes everything. Built Ford Tough.
Towing when properly equipped with available 3.5-liter EcoBoost V6 4x2. Payload when properly equipped with available 5.0-liter V8 4x2. Class is full-size pickups under 8,500 pounds GVWR. EPA estimated fuel economy rating of 19 city, 26 highway, 22 combined MPG, 2.7-liter EcoBoost V6 4x2. Actual mileage will vary. Government 5-star safety ratings are part of the U.S. Department of Transportation's new car assessment program, safercar.gov.
The heat is on. That's for sure. But to make sure you keep your cool and make money, let the winds of wisdom from Money Radio waft over you.
Oil. We produce it. We use it. We need it. Now you want to know how to invest in it. Join Brandon Cox, CEO of Pipeline Oil and Gas, at his new time, Monday from noon to 1 p.m. Brandon drills down the oil and gas industry. Learn what makes Pipeline different and things to look out for when investing in energy. Education is key when it comes to oil and gas, so don't miss Crude Awakenings with Brandon Cox every Monday from noon to 1 on Money Radio 1510 AM and 99.3 FM. For more information, visit pipelineoilandgas.com.
You know, most of the listeners of the station have a mortgage of some type. My question is, why? My name is Joe Capitano, Senior Vice President, Homeowners Financial Group. Think of what life would be like if you didn't have a mortgage, that extra cash each month to enjoy or to invest. And I can show you how to eliminate that mortgage in a fraction of the time without changing any of your current spending habits. It's so simple, it'll just amaze you. Call me today and let me get you back on the road to financial freedom. The interest savings alone could put your kids through college or maybe fund your retirement. Call me, Joe Capitano, 480-305-8545, 480-305-8545, or just go to joeloans.com. Back number 090-6222, MLS number 9826, Equal Housing Lender. That's Joe Capitano, 480-305-8545. That's Joe Capitano, 480-305-8545, 480-305-8545, or just go to joeloans.com.
Volatility is coming back into the market. After a few generally peaceful up years in the market, 2015 has already had a number of sharp up and down moves, and these are likely to continue. If you're prepared for it, volatility is opportunity. If you're not, it can quickly wipe out years of gains in your portfolio. Learn how to get on the professional side of the trade, the right side of the trade, regardless of volatility. Check out Online Trading Academy's The Right Side of the Trade, Thursday at noon on Money Radio 1510.
What's your dream? Enter the Bucket List Sweepstakes at the Arizona State Credit Union and you could win it. Visit bucketlistaz.com for official sweepstakes rules. Void where prohibited, no purchase necessary.
I'm Bruce Vail with Your Money Now. Despite lower gas prices, our thoughts on the economy have dimmed just a bit this month. The latest Consumer Sentiment Index from the University of Michigan shows a slight decline from July's reading. The preliminary August reading was in line with expectations, but was the second lowest reading of the year. Tyson Foods said it will permanently cease beef operation at its Denison, Iowa location, affecting up to 400 workers, as it becomes the latest meat producer to trim beef operations amid declining cattle herds. Oil prices ended the week with a small gain. Crude futures rose 27 cents, settling at $42.50 a barrel. Stocks appear headed for a higher close today as the Dow Jones Industrial Average is up 74 points at 17,483. The NASDAQ Composite is up 16, while the S&P 500 is now ahead 8 points. That's Your Money Now.
In 2001, Vonage revolutionized home phone service with voice over internet. After such a colossal breakthrough, who would have objected if Vonage said, "Enjoy better, world. Vonage will be spending some me time at the spa." But the thing about better is, there's always more better. So today, Vonage is not at the spa having its trouble area worked on by a masseuse named Moonshadow, but with its nose to the grindstone, transforming communications for your business by making it better. With a cloud-based infrastructure that grows as your business grows. Seamless mobility between all devices so you don't miss that important call, even while Moonshadow is walking down your spine. And all for less than you think. So while you're getting your mani-pedi, Vonage's toenails remain a complete disaster because Vonage is still out there working to make more better. See how your business can get the better it deserves. Call Vonage at 1-800-5-VONAGE or go to Vonage.com. Vonage, the business of better.
Now back to Health Futures, taking stock in you. If you have questions about your own or your loved one's future health care, call 602-264-8009. Now, here's your host, Cypress Home Care Solutions, Bob Roth.
Welcome back. My name is Bob Roth, and you are listening to Health Futures, taking stock in you. And we're a weekly show found right here on Money Radio 1510 AM, 99.3 FM, and on the World Wide Web at www.moneyradio1510.com. And I've got Genny Rose in the studio, and Jenny's from Leading Age Arizona. She's the executive director there. And, you know, one of the things that we talked about just as we came off our break was talking about the not-for-profit initiative. Mm-hmm. And that's something that, you know, you're very active in, and I would love for you to share with our listening audience. What does that mean?
Well, the not-for-profit members really believe in the not-for-profit imperative, which is to give back to the local community. So in order to be true to that imperative and to their mission, our members really look at a multitude of opportunities to give back. And they do it in a variety of ways. But just to highlight a few, because it is so diverse, but they do a lot for children. They do a lot for the homeless population. They make blankets for shelters. Some organizations make as many as 100 peanut butter and jelly sandwiches every day to send out to local youth centers. Nice. They donate books. They make toys for children at the holidays. And when I say they, it can be anyone. It can be the organization. It could be the employees, the volunteers, and oftentimes the residents. They're very active in teaching English to young students. So they have these active ESL programs in a variety of organizations. They go out to the local schools and do tutoring. They've adopted highways to clean the areas near their facilities. We've even had some members make financial contributions. The most recent was to purchase a mobile disaster response unit that would be prepared to go out and respond to any type of a disaster and to triage and then transport back to the hospitals. They often involve their residents in national or local walks, like for the Alzheimer's Association or breast cancer awareness. They've done food and clothing donations to a local food bank. And, you know, when you hear that, you think, well, lots of people do that. But we have an organization that donated over 3,000 pounds of food in one event. So they really make a commitment to giving back. I have another organization that does the laundry for a local church. Anything that a community comes to them and says we have a need for, nonprofits will usually reach out and try and meet that need. They've even donated to Make-A-Wish Foundation to make a wish come true for a child. So, and they offer scholarships to children in local communities. So it's quite a broad spectrum of activities, but there really is a strong commitment from not-for-profit providers to give back at the local level.
You know, you said something that really resonated with me, and you talked about some of our residents in these communities and what they're doing with the young children. Mm-hmm. And, you know, you really look at where we are as a country, where we are as a state, and where we are as a community. And we know that 10,000 people are turning 65 a day. I'm sorry, an hour. I mean, it is happening so fast. I mean, we have so many people that are turning 65, and we're going to have an older population. And the fact is that we know by 2056 there'll be more people 65 and older than there will be 18 and younger. Mm-hmm. So we have a lot of youth out there that are kind of, how should I put it, misguided, mm-hmm. that aren't getting the nurturing that they need. And we have an aging adult population that feels like they have more to give. Mm-hmm. And I really see, Genny, I mean, I want you to put your futuristic hat on, your vision for the future. I really, really see multi-generational communities mm-hmm. being the future for our society. It has to be.
And they already exist today. I've seen some in Denver where they're very, very successful. But your earlier comment is a nice segue for me into what's going to really be happening in the future when you talk about so many boomers and so few people under the age of 21 even. Right. Where's the workforce going to come from?
Exactly.
Because these boomers are going to eventually age and maybe age in place and going to need support and services that if they don't have adult children or grandchildren, there isn't going to be a workforce there. And we see that now, and I only see that really exacerbating in the future. So one of our initiatives is really to identify ways to really address the workforce development needs for seniors in the present as well as in the future.
Well, we've talked about it on the show here. We've talked about the caregiving shortage that we have. Mm-hmm. And you're absolutely right. I mean, right now we have about approximately 7 available caregivers, and that is family caregivers, not paid caregivers. Yeah. Could be paid too, but that are aged 45 to 64 caring for someone 80 or older. By 2050 here in our state, we're going to have less than 2. We'll have about 1.8. So we need to get more people into this workforce. And I want to make an appeal out to our listening audience. You know, Cypress Home Care Solutions and many of the members of Leading Age Arizona. And I would encourage you to go out to their website if you get a chance. It's leadingageaz.org. And you can see some of the members, some of the 52 members. All of us are looking for more in terms of our workforce because the workforce is drying up, and there really aren't enough good people out there, people that have the heart, the spirit, the compassion to really help make a difference in someone's life.
And we're struggling, too, to find the educational institutions to meet the needs as well, because there aren't that many schools and programs out there to educate those people who are willing to get that education or anxious to transition from a CNA to a caregiver if they want to work in this assisted living environment. So it's a 2-pronged, 3-pronged challenge, I think.
Well, we have the perfect storm.
Mm-hmm.
Genny, I don't know if you've read Atul Gawande's book, Being Mortal.
Someone just gave it to me. I haven't read it yet.
Well, I've read most of it. I haven't finished it, but I will finish it this weekend. But the point he makes is that there aren't enough geriatric doctors, geriatricians. He says more people are retiring than they are coming into that workforce. So we have a medical community that isn't as well versed on our aging population that we should have. Mm-hmm. And we know that if you're listening in and you have young children that are looking for career paths that they should go into, medicine is a great one, and if they can go to become a medical doctor, that would be fantastic. Geriatric services or geriatricians are really good, geriatric physicians. Or you can go in and become a nurse practitioner or physician assistant with some skills in that area. Because what Dr. Gawande talks about, and he's a physician, he's a surgeon, talks about that we're not ready. We don't have enough people in that workforce to take care of this aging population that they're turning 65 every minute of every day.
It's very true, and it's not going to get easier, and it's not going to go away. So somehow we have to figure out a way to really address it successfully.
Well, it's nice to know that there are some multi-generational communities in other markets, and I know that the village concept in Beacon Hill was one that was one of the first ones that was created, and there's some down in Washington, D.C., as well as in other communities across the country. And that could be a good remedy for our aging adult population to be able to age successfully in place. So that's interesting about the not-for-profit imperative, and it's nice to know that the leading age members are doing some of those great things in their communities because they're smart. They're smart because they are not-for-profit, but it also endears themselves into that community that they exist in.
Mm-hmm. They also reach out, too, as we were talking about the shortage of physicians and geriatricians. The schools that have geriatric fellowship programs are now beginning to look to long-term care organizations to provide that experiential opportunity for those new young doctors. So my members are quick to take advantage of that just for the education.
Education, and plus they can help the residents.
Oh, absolutely.
And you and I both know, our aging adult population, they have so much to give. They have so much they want to do.
Oh, they do.
I've had Dr. Ed Perrin in here. He's a geriatric physician. He talks about how babies get touched over 100 times a day. We have some people that are aging adults that don't get touched at all during the week.
Mm-hmm.
So that interaction is so important.
Yes, it is.
It's hard to believe we're coming up on another break, Jenny. You're listening to Health Futures, Taking Stock in You. I've got Genny Rose here in the studio. She is from Leading Age, Arizona. If you need to reach her, you can reach her at 602-230-0026, and it's at leadingageaz.org. We will be right back.
Are you thinking of selling your home? Well, this is Carol Royce of Keller Williams Realty EV with great news for you. I have over 700 buyers in my exclusive Buyers in Waiting program. The great news is I have more buyers, which means more money and a faster sale for you. I'm so confident your home will sell, I will guarantee it in writing. If your home doesn't sell, I will buy it for a price acceptable to you. Call me, Carol Royce, 480-776-5231, or go to carolhasthebuyers.com.
Mondays are the most profitable day of the week. When you listen to Money Making Mondays with the microcap master, Evan Greenberg, Chief Investment Strategist for the Legend Cap Opportunity Fund. For more info, call Evan at 516-662-0303. That's 516-662-0303. Or email Evan at legendcapfunds.com. And tune in Mondays at 1 p.m. for Money Making Monday.
Are you retired or headed into retirement? Call Anil Vazirani and Secured Financial Solutions at 800-957-5604 extension 200 to learn how to maximize your Social Security and Medicare benefits and to potentially reduce taxes on your Social Security income. Call Secured Financial Solutions at 800-957-5604 extension 200 or on the web at www.theripa.com. Listen to Anil Vazirani on the Money Radio Show every Thursday at 9 a.m.
Learn how to get your estate in order Wednesday mornings at 9 on Estate Planning with attorney Matt Dana. With over 30 years of experience and expertise, Matt will share cutting-edge strategies, ideas, and tips on how to help secure your estate from life's unexpected events. Wondering how to protect and maximize your family's inheritance? Wonder no more. Listen to Estate Planning with attorney Matt Dana every Wednesday morning at 9, right here on Money Radio 1510 AM and 99.3 FM.
Western WiMAX, providing reliable Internet solutions you can trust. Locally owned and operated for over 12 years. Western WiMAX, 480-575-7550.
Now back to Health Futures, taking stock in you. If you have questions about your own or your loved one's future health care, call 602-264-8009. Now, here's your host, Cypress Home Care Solutions, Bob Roth.
Welcome back. My name is Bob Roth, and that's a little bit of Glenn Campbell. So it is good to be back, and I love listening a little bit of Glenn Campbell as I finish off our segment today with Genny Rose. This is the fourth segment of Health Futures, Taking Stock in You. And if you missed the first three, you can catch them right up on our website at cypresshomecare.com. And Genny, we've been talking about the Leading Age Arizona. We've been talking about the provider members that you have and some of the initiatives that you've taken on, most recently the not-for-profit imperative that each of your provider members follows, which is really, really interesting. We got a kind of glimpse of what the future is going to look like, especially with our aging population, and how we're going to handle this influx of senior citizens, if you would, and how we're going to care for them. I don't think we came up with the answers, but we certainly know that as we talked about, maybe more of a multi-generational setting is going to be really ideal. And the reason why I think it's going to be ideal is because so many of our aging adults out there have so much to give. And where they may have physical limitations, that's where maybe the younger generation can help them. Whether it be ambulating, whether it be helping prepare meals, but at the same time they have a lot to give. And I think you talked about like English as a second language and some other things that they love to do.
And they just like to socialize too.
They do.
And another thing we do a lot in our facilities is we encourage young children to come in. So that kind of helps break down that stigma of not being able to touch an older person, because kids are just so happy to be there and they want to sit in your lap and they want to show off and sing for you and entertain you. And that connection is just very real and very sincere. And if we can build on that as those young children then become teenagers and caregivers in the future, I think it goes a long way toward building that workforce that we're so desperate for.
And, I think that take that fear out is so important because, it's funny you say that because this article that I wrote for the Loving Life magazine, for over 50, Loving Life After 50, it was really the article I wrote was the intro. And it was like, let me introduce myself. And I think you'll like this, and I think our listening audience will like this too, because I said, let me paraphrase Jerry Seinfeld. And many of our listening audience, as you probably have listened or watched Seinfeld, you probably remember the episode, You Got to See the Baby. You got to see the baby. Why does no one say you got to come see my grandfather? You got to see him. He's cute. He's 168 pounds, 4 ounces. He's 1,000 months old. They're cute at that age. And you know what? For me, and I know for you, I love our aging adult population. They really are cute, and they have so much to give, and they want to give.
Right. And such great stories to share, too. I mean, they've had remarkable lives, which you'll never know if you don't ask.
Right. And the stories are endless, especially for the ones that were in World War II, in the Korean War, Vietnam. We have a great group of people that we're caring for at Cypress Home Care Solutions. And that's a good segue for me just to tell our listening audience that as of last month, we introduced new regulation in our state. And Genny, you've been a great consultant, advisor, advocate, somebody that really has helped me with the frustration that I was undergoing for the last 8 years trying to create something to protect our older adult population. But we've got a disclosure legislation that came into place in July, and basically it is disclosing, it's for the agencies as well as contractors out there to disclose to the consumer the following. One, is the entity that is doing business, are they doing background checks on their employees or contractors? Who is responsible for the day-to-day management? A description of the training that those people go through, a description of how the services are going to be given as to what their costs are, and then lastly, how does one get out of that agreement? And certainly at Cypress Home Care Solutions, we don't have people sign contracts. I think that this is a business, especially with our vulnerable adults out there, that we shouldn't bound them to a legal agreement. We have them sign terms and conditions basically saying we're going to do this for you and we expect the following back from you. But just so you know, at Cypress Home Care Solutions, we hire employees. And the reason why we hire employees is because that way I've done the background check on them. We do drug screening. The background check's 50 states. But we also have, each one of them has to have CPR training, first aid training, and they also have caregiver training. We have a caregiver training lab. There's care oversight, and there's somebody that is coordinating that care. There's a care plan that is put in place, and each one of them goes through not just the background, but they do interviewing, and we are looking for people that have heart, people that have compassion, people that want to make a difference in somebody's life. And I make this appeal to our listening audience. If you know of somebody that may frequent the frequent the ER or hospital, or go to the doctors frequently, may live alone, somebody that just needs a little bit of extra care at home, call us at Cypress Home Care Solutions. That's what we're here to do. We're here to help people successfully age in place.
In the long-term care world, too, that criteria that you described with background checks and fingerprinting, et cetera, that's all a requirement in our world. So it's something we're very familiar with, and over time we've learned to appreciate. I mean, yes, it's expensive, and yes, there's a burden, but it's nice to know that you've got people that you can trust. And I think for your organizations to be doing this voluntarily, it just raises the bar, because people so often say, well, how do I choose? Which agency is best? And, we're all in that position to say, well, I can't really give you one, but I can give you a few choices. And when that question is asked of me, I will look to those specifically, preferably my business partners as well, but that have willingly gone to the trouble to do what you're doing and to raise that bar, so that we try and put as much protection in place for the seniors, because I think we both know how vulnerable they can be and how easy it is for people to take advantage of them.
For 21 years, we've been doing drug screening. And we do pre-employment drug screening, where many companies say that they have a drug policy, but how many of them are actually pre-employment drug screening on them? Because our older adults are taking some powerful medications that have enormous street value. And trust me, I serve on the task force against senior abuse with the Attorney General's office for the state, and we hear and see so much of this stuff going on with the medications. So I need to know right up front if I've got a caregiver that's abusing drugs. And, it costs me $30, but it's worth doing the $30 for the 10-panel test. Genny, it's hard to believe we're coming up on a break. Actually, we're coming up at the end of the show. So listen, it's been a great honor to have you on the show and to talk about Leading Age of Arizona.
Thank you, Bob. It's been a pleasure to be here, too.
And, it's amazing the world that we live in, and the fact that we are, together with so many others out there. It really does take a village to try to make a difference in someone's life.
But it's worth it.
Any parting comments you want to make? What do you got planned for the weekend?
Well, no plans this weekend. I took a trip last weekend to celebrate my daughter's birthday, so I have lots of catching up to do this weekend. So.
Well, good. Well, make sure you stay indoors.
Yes.
Make sure you properly hydrate.
Yes, thank you. Yes, will do.
And, I believe the Diamondbacks are in Atlanta this week. We hope we get them over the 500 mark and on their way into the playoffs. So we're going to say so long. Genny Rose, good friend, great honor to have you on the show with me. And I hope our listening audience is a little bit more educated on Leading Age Arizona. Make it a great day and have a great weekend. So long.
There's no place like home. You've been listening to Bob Roth Health Futures. If you have questions about your own or your loved one's future health care, call Cypress Home Care Solutions at 602-264-8009. That's 602-264-8009. Or visit CypressHomeCare.com. Be sure to join Health Futures with Bob Roth every Friday at noon, right here on Money Radio 1510 and 99.3 FM.
Right after Business for Breakfast, right after the news on Money Radio, tune in Mastering Money with wealth manager Steve Jurich and the Dr. Sinclair No. Learn about cutting-edge retirement investment strategies, Social Security optimizing, and RMD strategies. Guests on Mastering Money have included Steve Forbes, Larry Kudlow, and the one and only John Bogle, the founder of Vanguard. Join the A-Team, Steve and Sinclair, mornings Monday through Friday at 8. And now, download the Mastering Money app for your Apple, Android, and Windows devices.
Money Radio 1510
and 99.3 FM.
KFNN Mesa Phoenix and K257 CD Phoenix. Income plus tax advantages. Just two of the reasons to invest in America's energy. Find out how with Brandon Cox, Mondays at noon on Crude Awakenings. The Dow is up 74 points to 17,482. The S&P's up 8 to 2091. The Nasdaq's up 14 to 5046.
When people want to talk about money, this is the place they come to. And there's more on the way after this break for the latest news. And we begin now.